Knight Silksong is immense and fascinating. Many times I wanted to crack my skull on the desk, but I remained strong. Voilà pourquoi ça me fait chier! Foutez-moi un putain de bain juste avant, merde! I completed the game with a 100% completion rate over 60 hours, and I'm talking about the true 100% completion rate, not the one written on your journal. I see you coming, guys. I killed all optional bosses, cleared every minigames with high scores, and found all hidden collectibles on the map. This game is one of the best experience I had in years. It costs only 20 euros and future free DLCs are coming. That said, I will cover the video into two major parts. In the first one, I will try to explain everything I can without spoiling you. In the second part, I'm gonna spoil absolutely everything else. So if you don't want to get spoiled, just watch the first part of the video and then come back later for the second part. That said, let's start with the first part of the video. In this game, you play Hornet, captured and brought to Falloom, a world of insects and many mysteries. After breaking free, your goal is to understand why you have been captured, and this is where your long journey to the Citadel begins. On your way, you will meet peaceful insects, all talking about silken corruption spreading around the world, turning all living creatures into mad and aggressive foes. The closer you are to the Citadel, the more you learn about Hornet's origins and Falloom's illness. The story of this game is not very complex and the writing is not the best, but it does the job. You understand clearly who your character is, in what world you are evolving, and what the real threat is. Some characters in the game are more interesting or captivating than others, some will also follow your path to the Citadel, help you sometimes to handle some tough situations, they will evolve with the world and the story over the acts and your accomplishments. In Silksong, you don't have any voice acting. Every character has its own vocalization, making things more alive and unique.
Hello, I'm Papa. Orala.
Things are made simple, but it works pretty well and the world feels alive.
Doni poina volinette, pina sans mi manicette, d'un enfant sur le banc. Zoomika.
Your journey starts in Moss Grotto. You recover from the fall, pick up your needle, and the game begins. The first things that caught my eyes were the designs and the colors. This art style is beautiful, enchanting and stunning. With the foregrounds, backgrounds, characters, environments, the world has a strong sense of atmosphere. You feel the contrast between the beauty and decay throughout your adventure. You start in the deeper grounds with grass, rocks and caves omnipresent, and the higher you climb, the more metallic, shining and noble the environment is. Add to that the incredible music and sound effects, the game feels immersive and alive. Rendezvous in the spoiler part of the video if you want to know what I'm talking about and if you want to know which bosses I preferred. Speaking of which, you have more than 40 bosses and 200 creatures in the game. Each one has its own moveset and abilities, you won't see much reusability. Alright, time to go back at the beginning. You wake up, pick up your needle, and then you go. If you did that, let me tell you that you already missed something right at the beginning. In fact, you can go through the wall on the right, but don't worry, there is nothing important inside. But the game was literally telling you at that moment, the first seconds you spend in Falloom, on the very first screen when you enter the game, that you would have a lot of secrets to find. During your progression, you will find many locations not always accessible. Sometimes you might need some new movement abilities or simply pull a creature and jump on its back as I did here for this moss berry. The game is also telling you right at the beginning that if you can't see below your character, there is probably a trap. If you have already spent a few hours on the game, then you know what I'm talking about. If you are new to the game, then be careful on your way. So, when you start a new game, you are kinda naked. No skill, no special move, no single tool, just your dick and your knife. You can't even run and dash. You can attack right, left, up and down, bounce on enemies when attacking down. People are calling that the pogo, by the way, got it memorized, I'm gonna reuse that word later. If you hold up or down, you can see above or below your character and you have a challenge ability. But what is it used for? Basically, taunt enemies. Useless in most situations, but it can help to aggro a creature during platform phases. Oh, and by the way, it's increasing the damage of your next attack. Then you can heal your character, and one more thing so you know about it, you can parry attacks. You need to attack at the right time, and it works only if the enemy is using a weapon. Finally, most projectiles can be deflected when attacked. When you start a new game, your character is very slow, your HP are limited to 5, some enemies and bosses can deal 1 or 2 damage per hit and basically 3-shot you, your actions in battle are very limited, and timing your heal can sometimes be a nightmare. Don't worry, you should get your first skills and tools very fast, allowing you to attack from range, move and dodge faster. You will also find what we call Crests, literally the foundation of the build. It defines your attack moves and what kind of tools you can equip on Hornet. I will talk more in depth about the Crest, skills and tools in the second part of the video. In Silksong, the level design is very linear at the beginning. We start in Bone Bottom, then we go to the Marrow, the Far Fields and so on. But later, the exploration opens when we get the wall jump and the Needle-in. We can now access many areas we couldn't reach before and maybe find another way to reach the Citadel. For a new player discovering the game, it takes between 15 to 20 hours to reach the second act of the game. We have to go through dangerous places such as the Far Fields, introducing for the first time some very tough enemies with a lot of HP, moves and abilities. We go through a lot of traps and arenas, we start trying to find a bench and understand the game's philosophy. Ah, y'a un banc. Oh les bâtards! Yes, that's correct. That bench was a trap, and fortunately for me, I had enough HP left I could remain alive. But let's do 1 minute of silence to all players who probably died here, thinking that they would be safe after a long road of struggle. You want an advice? Always be careful, this might happen again. During your playthrough, you might struggle to beat a few bosses like Morwing or Widow, but keep in mind that they are not very hard in comparison with later bosses, and more important, you have a bench very close to them. For some bosses later, if you die, you need sometimes a few minutes to run back to them and retry the fight. And you might lose some HP on the road, that would be too easy otherwise. More details about that in the spoiler part of the video, you will understand my frustration. Some runbacks are completely destroying the experience you have through bosses. By the way, did you know that you could find an NPC in the zone and that he could help you during the battle? Oh, and one more thing now, did you know that you could skip the entire zone? If you find 5 fleas and come back to Mushka in the Marrow, you travel directly to Greymoor. The fleas set up their camp at the boss location, you can access Belhard directly without even beating the boss. This shows perfectly that sometimes you don't have a unique way to beat the game. Just take your time, leave, explore and come back later. You will probably find something to handle the situation. In the first act, we can't get many upgrades to strengthen Hornet. One more mask at most, and that is all. Upgrades really extend in Act 2 when exploration opens. However, you can at least get a very strong Crest, the Wanderer, giving you more attack speed. One of the strongest and one of my favorite, by the way. I'm still using it in endgame. What if I tell you now that you can get that Crest even before facing the Bell Beast? All you need? 500 Rosaries. The best way to get them? Kill the 4 enemies right next to the Druid, then rest at a bench, rinse and repeat. When you have the 500 Rosaries, go all the way to the left, then go through the hatch you probably opened earlier, then go left, then down. Activate the elevator so you can come back from the camp, go to the merchant and purchase the simple key. Take the elevator again, go up, and now things are getting a bit tricky. Wait on the side of that cliff until the flying insect comes back, jump and bounce on it. Repeat on the one on the left and continue to the left. Here you'll meet that dangerous creature spitting projectiles at you. Just take your time. The game has been designed for curious people who come there before getting the sprint and dash, so you can avoid every attack. In the next room, open the door with the key you just purchased, then you arrive in the worm ways. From here, always go down until you reach a bone grave. This is basically where you will find that crest. Now look at how fast I kill the bell beast with that crest. Battles are not the only difficulty we encounter in the game. Of course, you have very tough platforming phases, sometimes requiring a lot of skill, reflexes and patience. Some are very complex and enjoyable, by the way. One more time, if you want to know more about it, come back later in the second part of the video. I will add some more details. In Silksong, exploration is difficult and challenging. When you discover a new zone, you are blind. You don't know where you are, you don't know where you go, you struggle to find a bench or the fast travel, and all this creates a feeling of tension. Sometimes you will stress yourself. When you stress, you have worse reflexes, and you generally end up dying. What you need is finding chakra. At least, this is true for the first act of the game. She is literally the one and only NPC you are always looking for when entering a new zone. You want a map, you want to know where you are, you want to mark important locations, find chakra and give her your rosaries. By the way, she is not the only merchant we can find in the game. Some of them will sell some tools, upgrades and key items. Rosary is the main currency we have in the game. You can find some all over the map and after defeating some enemies or completing some quests. The annoying thing is that when you die, you drop all of them on the ground. If you die again before getting them back, then you lose them all. It happened to me many times and trust me, I got mad more than once.
Ah mais tu te calmes! Oh merde! Non, non, faut pas que je meure! Non!
A good way to avoid losing rosaries when dying is to convert them into necklaces whenever you can. Of course, you are losing some rosaries by doing that, but you will probably lose way less. In the game, some items are very expensive and losing rosaries is just extremely annoying. For instance, it took me ages to purchase all the items sold by the first merchant at Bone Bottom. So if you want good advice, convert your rosaries into necklaces every time you can, wait until you find a merchant, use the necklace and purchase the item you want. Players are calling that good practice. I personally never did that and trust me, I regretted it. In Silksong, we have many things to purchase and rosaries are extremely important. At some point during your progression, you will probably need to farm rosaries on monsters. Don't worry though, you will get more shards and rosaries over time during your playthrough. And just in case you want to farm them, remember that when you rest at a bench, all enemies respawn. In Silksong, you find also a lot of fetch quests. I know that many players hate that, I personally don't care. If you are a completionist, you will need to slay a ton of monsters for the journal anyway. Speaking of which, you are not forced to complete the entire journal if you want to have the 100% completion rate for the trophies. Last advice, don't stress yourself. Don't rush, stay calm in battle, analyze enemies, the environment and bosses. Take your time, you will die and it's okay. I probably died more than 100 times, but I made it, I beat the game. You need to learn from your mistakes and use the PPP method. Patience, perseverance and practice. No, I just invented that, but hey, it is working pretty well with the game, isn't it? In my case, I personally started very slow. I was bad at the beginning, but over time, I started to grow, become stronger and faster. Every new boss I was beating was a kind of accomplishment to me, and I wanted to try the next one. I wanted to know which one was the hardest one to beat. I wanted to know if I could achieve that. It was rewarding sometimes to see the reflexes I developed and the difficulty I was able to overcome. And this is not only true for bosses, but for platforming as well. The game is challenging in every aspect, and the more you progress, the faster and the more accurate you will need to be. And this is what I love the most in the game. The challenging curve always grows over time and adapts to the skills you unlock over your progression. All of that paired with the amazing combat system made me love the game. But on another hand, all the useless runbacks to bosses after dying and the Rosary's loss made me so angry. Oh my god, you just can't imagine. Alright, I think I said everything I could for the first part of the video. Now, I'm about to spoil absolutely everything else, so if you don't want to get spoiled, just leave the video and come back later after you progressed a bit more in the game. Let's focus on the movesets now. There are many to unlock in the game, changing drastically your gameplay, increasing the game's requirements with its growing complexity. The first one is the sprint and dash. It doesn't only give you more speed when moving and the possibility to dodge faster in battle, but it also helps you to perform the sprint attack. That attack, by the way, is changing depending on the crest equipped on Hornet. The sprint and dash also allows you to reach distant platforms and walls you couldn't access before. The second move is provided by an item, the Fade Down Cloak. It gives you the capacity to float in the air. You will use that all the time in arenas, against some bosses, in all platforming phases, all the time. The third one is the wall grip. With that ability, you can now jump on walls to reach higher grounds or dodge some attacks in battle. Some bosses have been designed around that ability and can be very challenging because of that. In the second act, you can find a tool to stick on walls instead of sliding. This tool will become your best ally for all platforming phases in game. Now, did you know that you could run on walls? All you need is that item that you get at the Architect. It's not written on the item itself, but when you quick dodge and hold the sprint button, Hornet starts moving like a real spider. The fourth one to unlock is the Harpoon. In battle, you can dash quickly on monsters and bounce on them to perform another attack or dodge back. For the exploration, you can use it on walls, rings and bouncing surfaces or monsters to access some new zones. It consumes 1 of silk to activate, and very often you won't be careful about it and fall during a hard platforming ascension or maybe just die. This move is essential for all platforming phases in the game. The fifth ability is the double jump. You will love this one over time, but when you just unlock it, you need some time to assimilate that now after the first jump, you can't use the floating ability anymore. It triggers only after the double jump. I died so many times because of that. One more time, this new moveset will drive you back to every zone you visited in the past to find more secrets you couldn't reach before. So make sure that all along your ascension to the Citadel and even later, you mark on your map every single detail that seems suspicious to you and always keep in mind that you probably missed something somewhere. The last move ability is obtained in Act 3 and allows you to jump extremely high by throwing your needle above you. The condition? Having a ceiling. This allows you to reach some new heights. Unfortunately, many secret zones are impossible to find without a solution or asking Google, which is something that I don't really enjoy, to be honest. I love exploring every single corner of the map by my own, but for the 100% completion rate, I felt forced to check a map on Google. According to me, it would have been better to have a flying ability instead, consuming some silk as the Harpoon does. A flying ability could also open a lot of possibilities for the exploration, platforming and boss fights. In the first act of the game, you can unlock a combat ability, the Needle Strike. You need to hold the attack button and then release it to perform a strong charge attack. This one varies in function of the crest used. Something more that I haven't mentioned yet, the Needle In. This is another ability obtained at the end of the first act, allowing you to open woven doors and interact with every NPC in the game. When you play a melody in battle, all enemies will stop fighting and start singing, just for the fun of it. If you want to complete the journal, you will need to go in that specific zone here, where enemies fear your character. To make them come to you, you need to play the needling, so they will start singing, and right after that, you can kill them. I know this is not very fair, but if you want to complete the game at the true 100% completion rate, then you are forced to do that.
Allez, hahaha, Timmy.
At the beginning of the third act, you learn a second melody to play on a needling. The Bell Beast had some babies, the melody calls them and they transport you to their mother, the last fast travel you explored. You got it after spending 35 to 40 hours if you are not rushing the game. The thing is that the map is huge and you have things to do everywhere all the time. You always have something missing on the map unless you are at the end of Act 3 or close. The time spent just running here and there to complete a quest or to explore and then go back to the closer transporter is insane. Having that fast travel feature earlier would have been very useful. Finally, there's another ability to unlock in the game. You need to find and use at least 15 memory lockets to upgrade your crest. Then go to the Weavenest Allah to unlock the Silksong. You can now recover your silk when resting at a bench, and this is game changer. Unfortunately for me, I learned I could get that when I was already at 97% completion rate when I was trying to find every single item missing. Alright, let's talk a bit more about the level design now. Through the environment, the game tells you when you will get a new moveset or sometimes a new skill. The silk threads blocking the way in the Morrow, you obtain the skill to cut it in the same zone. The distant lever to progress in the deep docks, you will find the sprint and dash by exploring the area. The air flows in the far fields, you got the floating ability at the same place. The long flat walls in Shellwood, you get the wall jump there. The many rings in the Underworks, this is where you get the harpoon. The feathers in the backgrounds of the Mount Fae and the very high platforms in Accessible, you get the double jump there. The environment is talking to you. Above the Morrow, you encounter the first pilgrims. An animation will trigger and shows you literally that they are controlled by the silk. Something else, when you enter the cave for the first time in Bone Bottom, you find a lot of bells on the ground and an NPC tells you that in the past, wild creatures could travel through the bellways. A bit later, you find these bells again with a wild creature imprisoned in the silk and it becomes your transporter. In the deep docks, you meet Lace, an insect very similar to Hornet, knowing a lot about you. I know a lot about you! She is one of the only bosses not dying after the fight. She is leaving and you understand that she will come back later. In fact, she is your nemesis. Now, the camp in Bellheart is entirely made of bells, which is the sacred theme recurring in the game. This will be the last camp standing in Act 3 and it is situated right in the middle of the map. Another attention to detail, the dead body of the boss you kill in Greymoor will be transported by the fleas and they will cook it and eat it later. Something else again, in the Underworks, when you talk to some NPCs, they talk about slavery. This is the only place in the game where you need to pay per unit to use a bench, and it retracts very fast, probably to prevent workers from resting. You can also take a bath, but this will happen. Pervers! In Silksong, you have around 20 zones. Each one has its own unique enemies and atmosphere, and the Citadel itself is made of multiple areas. The closer you go to the Citadel, by the way, the more noble the environment looks like. Nobility lives above people. But at the end of Act 2, when you imprison the Grandmother of Silk, the whole world is changing. A transition is made between light and dark, the atmosphere is changing drastically, the world is now shaking, you can hear a voice screaming from the abyss, and now that you have ascended to the Citadel, you need to go to the opposite side, into the abyss. By the way, not only the world is changing, but enemies too. The 200 plus creatures you met during your journey are now controlled by darkness and have more abilities and health. The level design and attention to detail is complex and well made in most cases. Exploration is rewarding and the environment is evolving and telling a story. But there is a big issue behind that, and this is intentional. Sometimes the level design is made to torture players and try to break them. That bench that I mentioned earlier is a good example, even if you can disable the trap by activating the lever hidden on the left. This one as well in Sinner's Road, not activating when you need it the most, but at least you can risk your life by going above and do some hard platforming to repair the bench. Or this one in Bile Water, making you fall into the poison water, devouring your silk over time, preventing you from healing. But this is okay. The things that traumatized me the most is the time spent to run back to bosses sometimes, especially in Bile Water to reach Grow the Great. And fortunately, I had a necklace to protect me from the poison, but still, it was a nightmare. And what about this one in Sands of Karak? A few minutes spent going through some platforming, which ones are great during exploration the first time, not 10 or 20 times after dying again and again. And because of that, you can't really focus on the boss fights and learn the fight efficiently. And this is boring. Personally, I don't really care about dying against a boss in general, at least at the beginning, because I need to learn the pattern. But in this game, oh my goodness, what a pain! And that's so sad because all bosses are cool, but this sheet is literally ruining a few of them. Even worse than that. Right after you kill the boss in Bile Water, a bench appears! What? Developers are sadistic motherfuckers! Alright, now let me talk about the different upgrades, crests, skills and tools. Afterward, I will show you my top 5 favorite bosses and the ones that I found the hardest to beat. Abilities are not the only way to improve the efficiency in battle. You will have more HP and silk over time after finding some fragments. You can sharpen your needle to deal more damage, find some crafting kits to increase the efficiency of your tools, and find some patches to increase the amount of shards and tools you can carry. Personally, I always try to have every upgrade I could on my needle and tools before doing anything else, and even with that, I struggled to beat a few bosses. Another upgrade you can have on Hornet, the Silk Hearts. Each one will add 1 silk bar recovery over time. Useful for the harpoon and extremely strong in endgame to recover passively 4 silk, which is exactly the amount you need to cast your skills. In total, you have 7 crests to find in the game, each one providing a unique attack moveset. You start the game with the Hunter, a pretty balanced crest providing a good range with a diagonal pogo. The Sprint attack makes you bounce on the target but not very high. The Needle Strike hits twice the target and you can carry up to 2 of each category of item. With that crest, when you hit the target multiple times without taking any hit, you get a damage increase. Thanks to that, it can still remain very solid even in endgame. By the way, you can upgrade that crest over time. Then you have the Reaper, which is another very strong one. Heavy attacks, great range, the pogo is very accurate and great to bounce on enemies. The Needle Strike hits 1 time only. The Sprint attacks makes you jump very high and allows you to perform another attack right behind or to dodge back. And when you heal, every time you hit an enemy during a few seconds, they drop a sphere giving you some more silk. One more time, 2 items of each category can be used. The Wanderer is one of the most appreciated and played crests in the game. Your attack speed is very high, the pogo is accurate and fast, helping a lot for platforming. The sprint attack is probably the best we have in the game, allowing you to fast combo the target or quickly dodge back. The needle strike hits multiple times in front. With that crest, you can carry only 1 red tool, 2 blues and 3 yellows. The Beast is the one I personally hate the most, and probably because this is the hardest one to master. You have a good range and speed on attacks, the pogo is a long jump forward and is pretty hard to master, the sprint attack is very fast and makes you bounce high on the target, and the needle strike is a jumped attack in front. If you want to heal with that crest, you need to trigger the skill to enter a rage mode. During a few seconds, every hit will heal you 1 mask, up to 3 maximum, or if you use that item. By the way, during the rage mode, you deal more damage. Furthermore, with that crest, you can equip 2 yellow and red tools, but not a single blue. But depending on your progression, you can have 1 more blue and 1 more yellow slot for each crest. Then you find the Witch. This one has a good range in all directions, a great pogo, very easy to master, the needle strike attacks on both sides, the sprint attack needs 2 hits to make you bounce in the air, and by the way, it makes you invincible during a few milliseconds. The issue now with that crest is the healing ability. You perform an attack in circle around your character and you need to hit the target to heal. Enemies, especially in endgame, move very fast, so it can be very dangerous to heal with that skill, resulting most of the time with no hit, no heal and some damage received. 3 blue items, 2 reds and no yellow. The Architect is the most broken build. Basically, you can equip 3 red tools, 2 blues and 2 yellows. This crest allows you to recover your tools in battle using some silk. Depending on your build, this can be extremely powerful but requires a lot of shards. You can literally kill enemies and bosses very easy using your tools only and staying range. Furthermore, the Architect allows you to use 6 times the Plasmium, refill the file without resting at a bench, and use it again until you overdose. Now, you have only blue masks and you heal passively over time. You can't equip any skill on that crest, but of course you can still heal. Concerning the attacks now, you have a pretty good range, and when you jump, you can hold the attack button down to charge your pogo, stay longer in the air and adjust the range. The sprint attack is very basic. As for the Hunter crest, you'll bounce on the target but won't get very high. The needle strike is a very strong front attack. The last crest is the Shaman. This one is, let's say, particular. You are not hitting with your needle anymore, but you are throwing a slash forward instead. The range is pretty good, the pogo is accurate, the sprint attack is delayed and makes you jump before throwing a slash forward, preventing all fast combo or dodge. The needle strike is a very strong and large front slash attack, and you can equip 3 skills at once. I don't really understand the use since you are not getting more silk. Something else, the heal skill makes you very vulnerable in battle. Your character jumps on the ground to heal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in this game, I'm pretty sure that we all wanted to heal in the air because we feel insecurity. Furthermore, with that build, you can equip only 2 blue items. So, one more time, this is a bit weird. And something else again, we unlock that crest very late in endgame. In Silksong, there are 6 skills to obtain. The first one we get throws a needle in front, dealing high damage in a straight line. The second one is very strong against group of enemies, it attacks multiple times all around your character. The third one is a counter attack. You need to parry at the right time to execute a left and right attack. Then we find a dash forward, making you invincible during a few milliseconds. Then a large AoE attack, spawning circles at the enemy location. This skill takes a lot of time to cast, and if the enemy is small and fast, then good luck to hit. Finally, the last skill, and my favorite one, very fast to cast, you spawn 3 self-guided missiles above your head, targeting the closest enemy. That skill is very strong against bosses. In the game, you can find 57 tools in total. I'm not gonna describe them all, but many of them are very strong and can define your build. The red tools are offensive items to activate in battle. The Flea Brew, for example, increases your attack and movement speed for a few seconds. The Flint's Tail adds some fire damage to your attacks. The Plasmium gives you some extra HP. You can summon some flies on the battlefield, attacking your targets regularly and passively. And then you will find many throwing tools with different ranges, damage, and trajectories. The blue tools are mostly passive support items. Some can apply a poison effect to all your red tools, applying some damage over time. Some will help you refill your silk faster over time or when taking some hits. One will lower the time required to heal, while another will increase it but heal more. One increases the damage of your skills, some others will help exploring specific zone, etc. And finally, you have the yellow tools. The compass to know where you are situated on the map, a belt to reduce your recoil in battle, an item to increase your speed when you are sprinting using some silk over time, an item to inflict more damage but also receive more, another one will sometimes block some damage received in battle, and you can also increase the currencies dropped by enemies. Many tools for many different builds. You can play offensive or defensive, on contacts or range, it is as you wish. And I love that. Now let me introduce you my top 5 favorite bosses. At the 5th place, Trobio, especially his second version. The fight is challenging, you have a lot of different attacks and colors on the screen, you need to be very reactive, and I enjoy that. My top 4 is Nilet. The boss itself is dangerous, of course, with a lot of mobility, some large AoE and self-guided attacks, but the arena is evolving during the battle and it requires a lot of skill. In third position now, Lost Lace, the final boss of Act 3 and probably the hardest fight in the entire game. The boss is extremely reactive, you have many attacks to dodge on the terrain while attacking her, you need to understand how she works, when and how to make her jump, when she will counter-attack and in what direction. That's a very nice fight, but her moves are sometimes unpredictable and really often she literally appears on you while you were dodging on a side. Because of that, she is and will remain my top 3. At the second place now, the first Sina in Act 2. And what a fight! The boss is extremely fast, teleporting all the time right and left, very aggressive, you have a lot of attacks in all directions. The boss can heal if you don't attack him in time. And in the second phase, he has a very large AoE attack that you unlock after beating him. You need to be extremely fast for that fight and it is rewarding. Finally, my top 1 is Carmelita. Beautiful arena, very hard fight, the boss is extremely reactive. She often blocks and dodges your attacks and covers the air and the ground with her abilities. This fight requires a lot of speed and reactivity, and the music is perfect. Now, honorable mention to the Grandmother Silk. This epic boss fight is closing the Act 2. The battle reminds the first Sina, but is way easier. Then Widow, The Last Judge, and Phantom. 3 very nice fight executions, challenging, a bit stressful and very enjoyable. And now, if I had to rank them by difficulty, then Lost Lace would be my top 1, the first Sinner my top 2, Chakra would be my top 3 because yes, you can challenge her in Act 2 after meeting her mentor, you need to hit the ring right to Bellheart in Greymoor and she will come to you. Then Seth would be my top 4 and Carmelita would be my top 5. Concerning the platforming phases now, my favorite one is the one at Mount Fae. Time is against you, you need to hurry while being accurate, otherwise the cold will kill you. This is very hard but worth it because at the summit you obtain the double jump and the immunity to cold. Two big challenges now. In the first, far fields, you need to kill a few enemies in a small arena with some lava at the bottom and continue with the hard platforming phase timed by the rising lava. Same happens the first time you try to come back from the abyss, but now it is harder, challenging but not impossible.
Oh là, je prends du retard. Ok, je suis mort là tout à l'heure. Ouais, je suis vraiment mort au dernier moment. Oh là 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 là. La lave qui monte. C'était juste.
According to me now, the hardest platforming phase is accessible in Act 3 at the end of the quest. You need to go back to the cradle on top of the citadel and climb very high. This one is a test of patience. It took me maybe 30 to 45 minutes to get at the top. Fortunately, you have some monsters at some points to recover your silk and you can heal and retry. All of that to get one of the 8 mementos you need to complete your collection at your bell home. And it is not even counting in a 100% completion rate. Speaking of which, here is a list of the things you need if you want to get the 100%. Every needle upgrade, every mask, every spool fragments, every silk heart, every crest, every skills and every ability, all the crafting kits and pouches, the 57 tools, and obtain the Everbloom. All collectibles you can expose at your bell home are not counted for the 100%. Same comment about the creatures on your journal, you are not forced to complete it. Last part of the video now, you have 4 minigames plus a scam. The first one is a race. You have 3 different levels, each one getting harder. After completing the 3 races in Act 3, you can challenge it again, but that time you will need to complete 6 turns. Then you have 3 minigames organized by the fleas with high scores to beat. For the first one, you need to attack the fleas before they hit the ground. They will bounce in the direction of your attacks. Over time, 2, 3 or 4 fleas are coming together from right or left and it becomes way harder. In the second minigame, you need to dodge the fleas charging at you and avoid falling. For the last one, you need to bounce on the fleas by using your pogo and stay in the air. I got a high score the first time I tried. Concerning the 2 other games, it was a nightmare. And all of that to realize later that Seth was coming to the festivities and had better scores way harder to reach. A nightmare, I told you. And finally, the scam minigame is the one in the Morrow. You need to spend a lot of rosaries if you want to participate. The rules are of course not explained at the beginning, but only when you fail, so you are wasting a lot of rosaries. The first time, you need to hit the target 15 times, then 25 times, and you can miss 2 times maximum. The third one will end the game. After coming back a bit later, you can retry, and that time, no limitation. I don't know if there is a special reward at the end. I left and came back later in Act 3, but the NPC was dead. Alright, to conclude my critique now, Knight Silksong is immense, fascinating, challenging and extremely fun and rewarding. Of course, the game is not perfect, mainly because of the endless runbacks when you die, the useless and stressful loss of rosaries, all of that generates a lot of useless frustration. But that taken apart, the exploration, the level design, the combat system, the different builds for your character, the progression, the growing complexity and difficulty of the terrain, enemies and bosses, the game is extremely rich, has a lot of content to offer and costs only 20 euros to get one of the best experience ever. Thank you for watching and listening to me. Now I think that it's time for me to go back in game and try a lot of things, record more videos, and more important, try to beat the Steel Soul difficulty. No reviving, death is permanent. This is now the real challenge. Take care, see you on the next one, bye bye.